Our story kicks off with Tang Dao, walking towards a massive temple in front of him. But listen, Tang Dao isn't the only main character here. Keep that in mind as we go. Right now, it's him entering the temple, carrying his massive scabbard. Inside, there's a huge old greatsword chained up, clearly something ancient. Tang uses his technique to open his scabbard, and multiple different kinds of swords get swallowed into it. Then, out of nowhere, a sword is launched at him from behind. Without even turning around, Tang grabs it. Turns out, the one who threw that sword is none other than his master. See, Tang's coming down from the mountain to lend out swords, and his master decides to toss in one last task. He wants Tang to deliver that sword to someone named Lord Wang. The thing is, that task? It's actually his master's job. Tang? He's not interested in doing someone else's work. As he tries to leave, his master controls the sword and forces it into Tang's scabbard, basically forcing him to take the job. Tang calls him stinking old man and says forcing someone to do your job is against sect rules. But his master is the sect leader, so if he says the rule doesn't exist, well, it doesn't. Now let's jump over to Lord Wang. This guy's living the dream. He's chilling in this wine pool, surrounded by a group of absolutely stunning women. But then, mid-fun, Lord Wang senses someone's coming. And who is it? It's Tang Dao. Tang Dao enters the scene, his aura spreading through the air like a wave, sharp and heavy. The moment the guards see him, they panic. They think he's here to attack. To protect the king, they launch a barrage of arrows at him. But Tang? He just swings his massive scabbard left and right, deflecting every single arrow like it's nothing. Not a scratch on him. The guards have no clue who he really is. They think he's some kind of threat, and without wasting time, they raise their guns, ready to fire. That's when it clicks for Tang. This is why his master dumped this annoying task on him. Of course, Tang tries to explain, calm and clear, he's not here to fight. He's the guy with the lone sword. He just wants to hand over a sword to protect the king, that's it. But the king and his guards? Full of arrogance. One of them even says, everything under the heavens belongs to the king, so why should he take on debt for a mere sword? That's how they see it. The king doesn't care. He gives the order to kill Tang. Right then, all the guards open fire. But Tang reacts instantly. He opens the scabbard, pulls out a sword, and just like that, he melts every single bullet coming his way. The guards freeze, shocked. But they don't stop. They bring out the cannons next. Boom, massive explosion. Smoke and fire everywhere. But when the dust settles, Tang's still standing. No wounds, not even a mark. Then, with a serious look, Tang speaks. He reminds them, he's just a man who lends out swords. Despite everything the guards just witnessed, the melted bullets, the explosion that did nothing, they still raised their weapons again, ready to shoot. But Tang had enough. Holding the mysterious blade in his hand, he activated one of its skills, Purple Flame. A strange purple aura flowed out from the sword, and in just seconds, everyone around dropped to the ground, fast asleep, except for the king. Now that it was quiet, Tang opened his scabbard again and started chanting an incantation. From within the scabbard, a new sword emerged, Jing Luo. This wasn't just any blade. It flew straight at the king, slashing his arm. Tang didn't just attack him. He explained the reason behind it. This sword, this loan, was meant for Yuan Ming, the ruler of the dynasty, and Luo Jintan, the one they call the illustrious one. Then something unexpected happened. The sword revealed a prophecy. It said, "A dragon dreams of betrayal as 5 plot to steal its scales. Red brings peace but harms the people. Yellow manipulates from the shadows. Green causes chaos. Greed fuels hidden trouble. In the palace, imposters replace the rightful, leading to an empty end." This wasn't just poetic nonsense. It was a warning, a serious omen of calamity. And now Tang understood why his master forced him to take this job. He wasn't just delivering a sword. He was stepping into something much bigger, something dangerous. The problem is, he just gave a powerful sword to the very king who's destined to bring that calamity. As the king, wounded and furious, charged at him, Tang didn't flinch. He simply vanished into thin air. But before disappearing, he left the king with one final message: when the prophecy is fulfilled, I'll come back to collect the debt for the sword. Now we shift scenes to a bustling city, filled with nobles, military generals, and high-ranking officials. This is where Tang arrives next, because he's got another task, another sword to lend. And here's where things really start to unfold. Because in this city, we're finally going to meet our second main protagonist. Now we meet our second main protagonist, Shu Yu, and he's with his sworn brothers, Yi Luo and Yi Xing. Right off the bat, emotions are high. Luo can't hold back anymore. His sister, Yixing, is dying, and the only thing that can save her is a rare medicine. But here's the problem. In this city, if you're just a commoner, you're invisible. You don't get that medicine unless you're a noble. So Shu Yu steps up. He's not about to let his sister die just because of some corrupt system. He throws on the clothes of a government official. The medicine she needs is called Lingji, and Shu Yu's plan is simple but bold. By impersonating a government official, he can walk into that store and get the medicine without questions. Now, how did he get the clothes? A few days ago, a yamen runner jumped into the river and left his official uniform behind. Shu Yu saw his chance, and he took it. The clothes were just lying there. Why not put them to use? Of course, Luo and Yixing are worried. This isn't a small crime. If anyone finds out Shu Yu's faking his identity, he's facing the death penalty. But Shu Yu, being the brother he is, tells them not to carry the burden alone. They swore a blood oath together, and that means something. Their and this is one. Before heading to the medicine shop, Shu Yu makes a quick stop at the butcher's place. He asks for some knives. The butcher hands over his share of the money because the tofu Shu Yu gave him earlier has already sold. Turns out, Shu Yu and the butcher have a deal going. Shu Yu brings tofu, the butcher sells it, and they split the profit. Business on the side while fighting for family respect. Now armed with knives and a plan, Shu Yu heads to the medicine shop. As he arrives, he sees a scene unfolding. A young girl is pleading with the man behind the counter. She forgot her household registration, and the clerk immediately starts insulting her, calling her a lowly commoner. She's crying, explaining that she has the money and her mother is dying from wind cold. She just needs the medicine to save her. But the man couldn't care less. Then his disgusting true nature comes out. He tells her that if she gives up her body, then he'll give her the medicine. Straight up filth. That's when Shu Yu steps in. The moment the man sees Shu Yu's official attire, his attitude flips. He goes from arrogant to terrified in seconds. Shu Yu doesn't waste time. He slaps the guy, kicks him hard, and orders him to hand over the medicine now. No room for mercy. The guy got exactly what he deserved. After getting slapped around, the servant finally brought the Lingji and the medicine the girl needed to save her mom. For a second, things seemed to be going perfectly for Shu Yu. But you already know, wearing a disguise only works until someone recognizes you. As Shu Yu was leaving, he happened to walk right past the servant's uncle. The uncle stopped his nephew and casually asked why he was treating that guy with so much respect. The nephew answered, he's a government official. But the uncle hit him with the truth. That's no official, he's a tofu seller. The nephew froze. He just realized he'd been completely fooled by a tofu guy. While all that was going down, Shu Yu had already handed the medicine to the girl and told her to run as fast as she could. But trouble was catching up fast. The servant and others from the store started chasing after Shu Yu. Then boom, Luo, Shu Yu's sworn brother, showed up, swinging a wooden stick, ready to back his brother up. But the store's servant wasn't dumb either. He blocked the attack and slammed Luo to the ground. The guy was about to crush Luo's face when Shu Yu rushed back in just in time and stopped him. Because of course, no matter what, you protect your brother. Things escalated quick. The shopkeeper and more servants arrived at the scene. But here's where it gets interesting. If word gets out that they gave away purple Lingji without the right paperwork, the shopkeeper and all his workers are done for. That's why they were desperate to get it back, at any cost. Shu Yu, reading the situation fast, grabbed the servant and took him hostage. Blade to his neck, he warned them all not to make a move. Now it was tense. Shu Yu told them how important that Lingji is to his sister. Then he asked, there's gotta be something you want in return, right? The shopkeeper explained that purple Lingji is an extremely rare medicinal herb, and without proper documentation, they legally can't sell it. That's when the servants, getting bolder, grabbed Luo and tried to use him as a bargaining chip. Shu Yu was about to lose it. His hand tightened on the knife. The blade was already drawing blood from old Li's neck. One wrong move, and it's over. So the crowd was buzzing, whispers flying everywhere, tension thick in the air, and that's when Yixing, their little sister, showed up. Even though her brothers had just risked everything to get her that medicine, she couldn't just stand by and watch them suffer for it. So what did she do? She stepped in and returned the Lingji, begging the shopkeeper to let her brothers go. You gotta understand, Yixing and Luo lost their parents last year. So to her, Shu Yu isn't just a brother, he's the last piece of family she's got. She'd rather give up the medicine than lose him too. It was honestly a gut punch moment, but things were about to go from emotional to explosive. Because just then, the authorities arrived. The shopkeeper, now in full panic mode, told Shu Yu to just release Old Li and promise not to press charges over the medicine. But hold on, after all this? After coming this far? Just walk away? No way. Shu knew chances of getting that medicine again were slim, so he scanned the crowd, and boom, it hit him. Everyone around them? All commoners just like him. So Shu did what Shu does best, he used his voice. He shouted out to the people, explaining his sister's condition. He wasn't begging, he was making a point. Even if we're commoners, we're still people. Buying medicine when we're sick, isn't that normal? Isn't our money worth the same? The people started murmuring. Heads were nodding. Then the shopkeeper tried to shut it down by saying he was just following Yuan Ming's loss. Big mistake. Shu was waiting for that answer. He clapped back hard, shouting, "That's BS. When the Yuan Ming entered the Central Plains, our ancestors refused to surrender. That's why we were demoted to commoners and slaves." That struck a nerve. The crowd exploded with anger. His words had lit the fuse. This was exactly Shu's plan. Make the commoners clash with the nobles, stir up enough noise that even the officials would be forced to act. And they did. The leader of the officials stepped in and coldly declared that impersonating an official means one thing, death. Shu knew this could happen. But what came next? No one saw it coming. The leader didn't just make threats. He straight up killed Old Li right there like it was nothing. Total silence fell. Then out of nowhere, one of the guards tried to stab Shu from behind, but Luo jumped in, took the full hit instead. That moment froze everyone. Shu and Yu Sheng were left stunned, unable to speak, eyes locked on their fallen brother. That's when something snapped inside Shu. No more talking. No more planning. He charged forward and slashed the official's arm clean, the same one that had hurt his brother. Just when it felt like everything was falling apart, guess who showed up? Our guy the butcher, the same one Shu Yu worked with earlier. But he didn't come alone. He brought his blacksmith brothers, and they came ready to throw down. With these unexpected reinforcements, the officials realized they were outnumbered and immediately started retreating in panic. But even with the tide turning, things were still bad. Luo was bleeding out, and it was serious. If they didn't act fast, he wasn't gonna make it. The butcher and the others ran into a big patrol squad, so they had to scatter and run for their lives. That left everything on Shu's shoulders again. Without wasting a second, he picked up Luo, carrying his injured brother, and told Yu Sheng to find somewhere safe to hide. As if that wasn't already enough, the officials caught up to Shu. It looked like a wrap, but just then, out of nowhere, Shu's father appeared. He helped Shu and Luo escape. Shu handed Luo over to his dad, trusting him to keep him safe, and then turned around to handle the situation himself. And man, Shu didn't just run, he trolled the officials. He mocked them, made jokes, did everything to get under their skin, and it worked. The officials lost it and chased after him like rabid dogs. Shu hit a dead end. In front of him was a cliff, and below it, deep water. One wrong move and it's all over. But our guy had no choice. He jumped. It was risky, but the water was deep enough to save him, barely. As he pulled himself out, his body gave up on him. He was soaked, freezing, and completely drained. And right in that moment, when he could barely stand, he met Tang Dao, our first protagonist. Tang walks up to Shu, who's still lying there completely knocked out, drenched and exhausted. Now you'd think he'd gently wake him up, right? He just straight up slaps him awake. And it worked. Shu jolts up ready to throw hands, but Tang? Man moved so fast, it looked like he teleported out of the way. Then Tang hits him with the real reason he's here. He tells Shu, "I lend out swords." Just like that. Out of nowhere. And he's here to lend Shu a blade. Shu's like, wait, a free blade? Say less. But then he hesitates, realizing, hold on, isn't that illegal? Giving out weapons like that without permission? Sounds sketchy. But Tang breaks it down for him. He says blade lenders don't just give weapons, they also do fortune-telling. When they lend you a sword, they leave behind a prophecy. And once that prophecy is fulfilled, they come back to collect a fee. That's how their business works. But Shu? This man's head is full of tofu. He hears free sword and immediately thinks, let me go call the squad. We're all getting upgrades. But Tang shuts it down quick. If his brothers are fated to get blades, they'll be found in due time, not handed out like candy. Now comes the real deal, the blade itself. Tang explains the sword you get depends on your affinity with it. He begins the same incantation he used when he lent the king that powerful blade earlier. The plan was to give Shu the wooden sword Mu Zheng, but then something crazy happened. Qi Shao, a completely different sword, appeared on its own. It chose Shu. Tang was shook. Qi Shao isn't just any sword. It's a blade with insane power. The moment Shu touched it, the sky turned blood red, and lightning came crashing down like something out of a divine punishment scene. Tang didn't waste time. He immediately yanked Qi Shao away from Shu. Shu was obviously blown away by that power and begged to keep it, but Tang told him straight up, if you use Qi Shao now, you'll be dead in 3 days. That sword is way too sharp, way too powerful, and Shu just isn't ready. So instead, Tang hands him the original blade, Mu Zheng, which, to Shu's disappointment, turns out to be a wooden sword. He looks at it like, bro, are you trolling me right now? But Tang wasn't done. To prove its potential, he channels just a tiny bit of energy into it, swings once, and smashes a massive boulder behind them into pieces. One clean swing. Wooden sword or not, the thing is OP in the right hands. Of course, Shu saw that and thought, easy, I got this. So without thinking, he tries to copy Tang's move, swings Mu Zheng at a nearby tree, and breaks the sword on the spot. Like I said, tofu brain. Even though Shu broke Mu Zheng, the wooden sword he just got from Tang, it wasn't over. Most of us would have thought, well, that's it. But nope. This sword is kinda OP in its own way. You see, trees have life, and since Mu Zheng is made from a living tree, the sword regenerates itself. Not as tough as iron, sure, but this thing doesn't care about taking damage. It just grows back, like nothing happened. Tang then tells Shu to smear his blood on the sword, and once he does, something mysterious happens. Suddenly, a prophecy appears. The jade leaf tree shed dust, staining the water with blood. In a ghost town, Manhwa sparked the enemy's ideals, awakening a great tree spirit. As the woodcutter felled trees, the shade lingered over the chrysanthemum garden. Under countless eyes, he walked toward Death's Gate, where 1,000 soldiers rose to slay the dragon. It is said that those who reach the top of the great tree become shade for others. Tang reads that and is like, wait. Manhua. That name alone made him pause. A sword by that name awakening the enemy's ideals? That's no ordinary vision. Shu thinks it's just some poetic nonsense, but Tang corrects him. It's not a poem, it's a prophecy. A real one. A glimpse into Shu's fate. And no, Tang refuses to explain it further. Heaven's secrets must not be revealed. But those words start digging into Shu's mind, like they've been carved into his memory. Tang says one day, those words might become a power he can actually use. Then we get this moment where Tang remembers something his master once said. His master believed Shu might be involved in a prophecy that ties together all the people Tang's ever lent swords to. One day, the master asked Tang, which sword did you lend when you first came down from the mountain? Tang replied, the one Marshal Uncle lent me, Manhua. Remember, Manhua showed up in Shu's prophecy. That links Shu directly to that sword in the future. Then the master asked about the prophecy tied to Manhua. Tang answered, a person with exceptional ability will see through the chaos of the times. The great tree they planted will reach the vast sky. Sound familiar? Because Shu's prophecy literally ends with, those who reach the top of the great tree become shade for others. So now the real question, is Shu the shade? Is he gonna become that protector figure when the chaos finally explodes? Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. Back to the present, Shu, still determined as ever, begs Tang to teach him swordsmanship. Tang's like, nope, that's not how this works. We lend swords, we don't teach people how to use them. Shu offers him money. Again, Tang turns it down. Blade lenders don't deal in cash, they move by fate. But Shu's not done. He offers Tang a book, which surprisingly grabs Tang's attention. Tang even uses a little technique to dry the wet pages, and Shu starts reading from it. One of the lines? They were neck to neck, like a pair of mandarin ducks sporting in the water, the phoenix's head piercing the flower. Tang reads that and is like, what the hell does that mean? Shu goes, come on guys, you know exactly what that means, don't make me explain it. And you'd think this would turn Tang off, but somehow it actually pulls him in even more. Shu promises he'll even bring him a version with images next time. And just like that, Tang officially becomes Shu's master. Not because of destiny, not because of money, but because Shu cracked the code with a cheeky line from a suggestive book. Even though Tang technically agreed to become Shu's master because of those Ahem lewd books, he still tried to play it cool and say it's all because of fate. Classic move. But once Tang started flipping through the book, trying to investigate its contents, Shu just wouldn't shut up. Dude was so hyped, like, let's train right now. Come on, master. Tang had to shut that down quick and told him, first, go comprehend the blade's nature. Basically, go chill and reflect before waving that sword around like a maniac. Now here's where Tang starts dropping wisdom, real master-level cooking going on. He breaks it down. Humans have human nature, and blades have blade nature. For humans, the core is good and evil. Whether you're kind, cruel, calm, wild, it all stems from that. Over time, these basic instincts turned into thousands of different personalities and behaviors. But when it comes to blade nature, it's all about killing. Simple as that. Killing for revenge, killing for beliefs, killing for desire, killing for resources, or just straight-up killing innocent people. That's how blades evolved into thousands of unique styles, each one shaped by why and how it's used. That's also why they're sometimes called blades that wound, not just blades that kill. It's about the intent behind the strike. Now, just when Tang is in the middle of laying down all this philosophical gold, trouble pulls up. The officials show up, and one of them starts chasing after Shu. Problem is, our guy hasn't mastered anything yet. He's still a noob with a sword. The official strikes and bam, Zheng gets destroyed again, and Shu gets injured too. At this point, Shu can't do much. So what does he do? Run for his life. He bolts, limping his way toward where Tang is. And just when the official's about to land another blow, Tang steps in like a total boss. In one instant, he snatches the blade out of the official's hand and swaps it with a tiny stick of wood. Tang casually tosses the official's sword back, not to the ground, not just away, but straight into the tree behind them. And the moment it hits, boom, that tree shatters into pieces like it was made of glass. Then Tang, in the most chill and savage way possible, tells them, "Don't bother me while I'm reading." Bro, man's out here reading his lewd book and destroying trees with backhand throws like it's nothing. Now Wang, the official with the bow, sees all that and instantly knows they're way out of their league. He's ready to bounce, but his partner? This guy's way too stubborn. He figures out a loophole. As long as they don't bother Tang directly, Tang won't attack. So here's their big brain plan. Wang hides somewhere nearby with the bow, waiting for the right moment, while the other official tries to distract Shu. As the official walks over to bait Shu out, our guy knows it's a setup. He's not falling for that. Best move? Stick close to Master Tang. But then Shu spots Wang hiding nearby, and instead of staying still like a smart person, he starts mocking him, walking left and right around Tang, using his own master like a shield. Bro's literally trolling the guy with a bow. And that's it. Tang's patience hits zero. He's done. Doesn't even bother with him anymore. He just climbs up a tree and decides to relax, leaving Shu to deal with the mess himself. Like, you made your bed, now lie in it. Now Shu's on his own, facing two officials. And as expected, he starts running again. But this time, when the official lunges at him, Shu holds his ground and blocks with his sword. And guess what? It doesn't break. Finally, something clicks in his head. He starts to grasp the idea of why he's holding a blade, not just to fight, but to understand its meaning and purpose. But his moment of realization doesn't last long. The official overpowers him, knocks him back, and breaks the sword again, mocking him, lowly commoners like you can't compare to nobles. Then, out of nowhere, the official stabs Shu from behind. Just like that. And this right here is exactly why Tang didn't want to get involved in this chaos. Shu is literally on the brink of death, and just as everything fades, memories from the past start flooding his mind. Now here's the thing, Shu wasn't born into anything special. His family made tofu. Simple as that. Every day, they'd grind away, make tofu, sell it, and survive. But one day, a nobleman, who also happened to sell tofu, noticed something. No one was buying from him, because Shu's dad was doing it better, faster, and with more heart. So what does this nobleman do? He lets jealousy take the wheel. Instead of improving his own craft, he goes straight for power moves. Starts mocking Shu's father, and even orders him to make no more than 2 boxes of tofu. Like bro, really? Limiting tofu production out of spite? Shu, just a little kid back then, sees this injustice and lashes out, charging at the noble. But it's no use. The nobleman hits him. Shu's dad, watching his son get struck, snaps. He fights back, even though he knows what's coming. Despite the situation, he turns to Shu with a gentle smile and tells him to go home, reassuring him he'll be fine. But we know how this world works. Laws only protect the nobles. So, the punishment? 50 lashes. That's brutal. When he finally makes it back home, covered in wounds, he still tells Shu he's okay. But little Shu can see it. His dad is lying, holding back the pain just to keep his son's hope alive. That moment lit a fire in Shu. He told himself he'd enter school, get recognition, make something more of himself. But then his father finally speaks the crushing truth: commoners aren't allowed in school. It's not about talent or will. It's a rule made by the king, the same king we saw at the very start of this story, the one destined to bring calamity. These rules are built to keep people like Shu and every child like him stuck as peasants forever, while the nobles stay on top. But instead of despair, his father smiles again, saying, if you want to study, it means you're already chasing hope. That line? It hits hard. That's a father believing in his son's spirit, even if the system is against him. Now back to the present, something wild happens. Zheng, the sword we thought was broken and done, suddenly creates a patch of grass around Shu. It's subtle, but powerful. Even though Shu's bleeding out, he somehow finds the strength to stand up, and with sheer will, he pushes the officials back. And Tang? Oh, he's just sitting nearby, grilling fish, not a care in the world. It's hilarious, but kind of perfect. Shu finally snapped into focus. All that running, all that confusion, it's done. He's not the same guy anymore. The official charges at him, probably thinking he's still that scared brat. But Shu doesn't hesitate. He dashes forward, no second thoughts, and finishes the guy off clean. And right then and there, he declares it. All that garbage about nobles being high and commoners being low? He's done believing in that nonsense. Now Wang, the other official, sees this and immediately goes, nope, I'm out. He tries to make a run for it. But Shu? He's in full beast mode now. Catches up, no hesitation, and delivers the final blow. Honestly, it's wild seeing him flip like that, from a panicked kid to someone this ruthless. Man's got another personality when it's serious. But of course, after all that effort, all the bleeding catches up. Shu gets back to Tang and collapses, completely out cold. Tang doesn't waste a second. He pulls out a sword from its scabbard. This isn't for fighting, though. He actually uses a sword technique to heal Shu's wounds. Yep, swords can do that now. Tang's not just some lazy fish griller. He's got some serious magic under his belt. Now let's flip scenes to something bigger, the Yuan Shou dynasty. We're inside the Imperial Astronomical Observatory, where one of the royal astrologers is watching the skies. But the guy's shaking in his boots. He sees signs, the imperial aura's rising, the celestial market's radiant angle, swift thunder's restraint, strange clouds, and a shifting atmosphere. All this points to one thing, a massive calamity is coming. But hold on. At the beginning of the story, the one said to bring this calamity was supposed to be the king himself. So now that the stars are acting up, could it actually mean Shu is the real bringer of doom? If that turns out to be true, I'll be damned. Plot twist incoming? Back to the palace, King Yuan Shou is seated, surrounded by officials who are literally groveling. They're all apologizing and promising to capture that rebellious criminal, our boy Shu. They leave, and then suddenly a blade is hurled toward the king. And wait, this blade looks familiar. You know it, I know it. It's Jing Luo, the same one that Tang gave to King earlier. Somehow, it's found its way to the king again. Now here's the spooky part. The king calls this blade a demonic sword. He's tried 3 times to get rid of it, and every time, it just comes back. And now, it's in his hands once more. The king, still freaked out by the blade Jing Luo, decides he's had enough. He throws it away and orders his servants to melt it down. So they heat up this insane high-temperature pot, toss the sword in, expecting it to melt like butter. But guess what? Nothing happens. Not a scratch, not even a mark. This sword just sits there like, is that all you got? So the king's like, fine, let's blow it up then. They chain it up, stick it in the middle, and start blasting it with cannons. Multiple shots, full force. But before the impact hits, the blade activates on its own, breaks free from the chains, and forms a barrier that absorbs all the explosions. Just straight up unbothered. Seeing this, the king's not mad anymore, he's thrilled. He's like, so this is what a true divine artifact looks like. Now hold up, remember that astrologer dude who was staring at the sky earlier? He rushes to the king, sweating bullets, and drops a bomb. He's tracked a massive surge of imperial aura coming from the southeast, the exact same place where Shu and Tang are right now. The king's face immediately shifts. This isn't just news, it's a threat. And he takes it seriously. So what does the king do? He doesn't just want Shu caught. He orders the servants to hunt down the person responsible and exterminate their 9 generations. He's not playing. Then he grabs the sword, holds it high, and declares, "My empire shall stand for eternity." At that moment, this gigantic whale-shaped energy bursts out of the sword and flies into the sky. The king can feel the sword's power surging through his entire body. Things just got way deeper than we thought. But all right, enough of the royal drama, let's check back on our boy Shu. He wakes up and instantly freaks out. There's a snake chilling on his chest. Without thinking, he eats the snake straight at Tang, probably hoping that'll be the end of it. But Tang, being Tang, just smirks, uses a quick technique, and switches places with Shu, taking the snake like it's nothing. Then Tang pulls out this snake sword, and with one swing, the blade transforms into a giant white serpent. And this? This is Shu's next training. Tang calmly tells him, "Your task for today is simple. Make this monster submit." Shu sees this giant snake in front of him and does exactly what you'd expect. He just collapses. Straight up faints. Tang's like, "Get up, you little brat," and wakes him right back up. So what does Shu do next? Runs for his life, of course, with that massive white snake chasing him down like a predator on a mission. Now, in a panic, Shu channels the power of Zheng, summoning roots from the ground to try and trap the snake. For a second, it looks promising, but nah. The snake just slices right through them. They're too weak. Tang steps in, dropping wisdom like usual. He tells Shu, trees without roots are just floating duckweed. Basically, if Shu wants to survive the storm, he needs to dig deep, grow roots, and then grow branches, leaves, become a forest, not just a twig in the wind. Then Tang reveals something important. This is Zheng's ultimate move. So Shu places the blade into the ground, strikes with all he has, and this time massive, sturdy roots burst out, locking the snake in place. But there's a catch: Shu burns all his strength in the process. The snake doesn't wait. It breaks loose and slams him into the ground hard. Poor guy can't even take 2 hits before he's out. Tang, watching from a distance, calls out to him. He tells Shu to drive Zheng into a tree. Shu listens, and the second he does, boom, his energy comes rushing back. Turns out this blade is actually OP as hell. Tang explains everything now. The 2 techniques Shu used before drained his chi, and there are different kinds of chi: life chi, destiny chi, strength of chi, and the density of energy. All of it normally flows through the body. Once Shu unlocks the prophecy through the blade, it'll become the source that fuels Zheng's power completely. Understanding all this, Shu decides he's had enough running. He's going all in. After an intense back and forth, Shu finally defeats the damn snake. Victory, right? Well, not quite. Tang looks over and sighs. He's disappointed. Shu didn't awaken the blade's spirit like he was supposed to. That was the real goal. With that, their short but wild teacher-student journey wraps up. Tang, of course, doesn't say a warm goodbye. He just hops on his donkey and rides off toward the next destination like it's no big deal. Shu watches him leave, quietly hoping that maybe, just maybe, his master will teach him again someday. Now, on his way back to the city, Shu notices something weird. There's a barrier wrapped around the little forest he just came from. Turns out Tang placed it there, probably to keep nosy officials away from their training zone. Back in the city, though, it's a different story. A serious inspection is going on, so getting past the gates, that's going to be a major pain for Shu. So now that Shu finally understands Zheng's power, he decides to put it to good use. What does he do? Crafts a rooted hat out of the blade's power. Yup, a hat made of actual roots, and even sticks on a fake beard and mustache. Gotta love this disguise plan. All of it just to make sure the officials don't recognize him. Now the streets are packed. People are gathering around, staring at wanted posters. And guess what? Shu's face is right there, with a bounty of only 5 copper coins on his head. 5 copper coins. Man, our guy's basically a joke in the eyes of the law, but honestly, fair enough. On the other hand, the real star of the posters is Tang, the blade lender. 10,000 gold coins if someone turns him in. That's how dangerous they think Tang is. The city gates are crawling with officials, so sneaking in is gonna be tough. But Shu's got ideas. He channels Zheng again and starts ripping the officials' clothes using the blade's power, leaving them half-naked and absolutely embarrassed in front of the whole crowd. It's wild, but hey, it works. The chaos gives Shu a chance to slip into the city. But of course, nothing goes perfectly. One sharp-eyed official spots him and yells, "Hey, that's the guy worth 5 copper coins." Shu dips instantly, using Zheng to keep them off his tail. Total distraction success. Once he gets back home, though, disaster. His house is burned down, completely destroyed. But then, from the shadows, his little sister Yixing appears. She had been hiding close by. Through tears, she tells Shu that their father Fein Yao and her brother were taken by the officials. She blames herself, thinking it's all her fault, but Shu reassures her, promises her he'll save them. Then she shows him her blade, pure silver, and yep, no surprise here, it was given to her by none other than Tang himself. She even received a prophecy just like Shu did, but since she's still young and can't read well, she had asked Shu's father to copy it down for her. Shu reads it, and there's one line that hits him like a punch to the chest. Leaves from the same branch suddenly wither and fall. You already know what that means. It's not just poetic, it's a warning, and it's real. So Shu rushes to the Fengpei City County office, and as soon as he looks up, his heart drops. The prophecy was right. His brother Luo is hanging from a tree, lifeless, right in front of him. Shu and Luo's little sister stood there, frozen. What they were looking at, it just didn't feel real. Their brother, hanging lifeless from a tree. Emotions hit hard, shock, grief, disbelief, all at once. And in that moment of heartbreak, Yuxing's silver blade suddenly reacted on its own. It split apart mid-air, moving with a will of its own, cutting the rope and gently lowering Luo's body to the ground. It was like the blade could feel her pain. It was a heavy, painful moment. Yuxing dropped to her knees, unable to accept the death of her last family member. Her heart couldn't take it, and she fainted on the spot. Right then, a group of officials showed up, led by a guy named Bauer. And instead of even pretending to be human for a second, this guy started mocking everything, mocking Yuxing, mocking Shu, and worst of all, mocking Luo, the man they just lost, especially since they were the ones who killed him. Shu's expression shifted. Rage was building. His hands clenched, eyes narrowed. His mind flashed back to a memory, him and his brothers, sharing a drink, pouring their blood into the sake, swearing an oath to be brothers for life. A sacred moment. And now, one of those brothers is gone. Shu didn't hesitate. He charged straight at Bauer, his fury leading the way. Bauer, thinking he had this handled, yelled for the archers to fire. A storm of arrows rained toward Shu, but the moment they reached him, Mu Zheng's roots shot up, grabbing every single arrow mid-air, spinning them around, and launching them right back at the officials. Bauer? He was no longer smirking. The fear was real now. The other officials tried to stop Shu, but once again, Mu Zheng's roots erupted, launching them into the air and slicing them to pieces like they were nothing. No mercy. Not even a shred. Now only Bauer was left. Shu wasn't finished. He struck Bauer's leg and then stabbed it again, in the exact same spot. Bauer screamed, tears streaming, crawling in pain toward his father and the other terrified officials, begging for help. And Shu? He just stood there, cold and furious, as if to say, "This is what happens when you mess with my family." Bauer's father panicked. Watching his son bleed out in front of him, he shouted at the officials to do something to save him, to stop Shu. But Shu didn't hear any of it. His mind was locked on one thing: make Bauer suffer just like Luo did. Arrows were sticking out of Shu's body, blood dripping everywhere. But he didn't stop. He kept swinging Mu Zheng, again and again, cutting Bauer without holding back. Not even a little. Bauer broke down. He started begging for his life, crawling, crying, saying anything he could to stop the pain. But Shu? All he could think about was Luo's lifeless body. His face, his voice, his memories. He looked at Yuxing and apologized, blaming himself for what happened to her brother. But Yuxing screamed back at him, "It wasn't your fault." Her voice cracked, her eyes filled with tears. It was these damned officials. They killed him. The soldiers didn't care about the moment. They fired more arrows at Shu. That's when Yuxing's blade acted again. The silver sword split into countless floating feathers, and each one of them ripped the arrows out of Shu's body, saving him from the brink of death. Bauer's father, holding his son who was barely hanging on, snapped. He pointed at Yuxing and shouted, "Kill her." Now, Shu, barely able to stand, started remembering. The first time Luo introduced his little sister to the group. She was so small, but fearless, she even took a drink with them when they all made their blood oath. Brothers for life. That memory hit hard. As the guards moved to strike Yuxing, Shu rose to his feet once more. His wounds were still bleeding, but the power of Yuxing's blade had healed enough for him to move. He slashed the guards down instantly, not letting a single one lay a finger on her. But Yuxing was sick. Her body couldn't keep up. She began coughing violently, clearly in pain. Shu caught her before she collapsed, gently carrying her to where her brother's body lay. He laid her beside him, wrapping both of them in Mu Zheng's roots, creating a protective cocoon. He knew he couldn't stop now. His father was still in danger. Shu took Yuxing's silver blade with him, then stabbed Mu Zheng into the tree, drawing out a fresh wave of power. His strength returned. He was ready. But up on a nearby rooftop, two shadowy figures were watching everything unfold. Bauer's father, desperate and clinging to power, made a bold move. He shouted out that whoever kills Shu will get 100 taels of silver and be promoted to chief constable. That's a crazy reward, and of course, the officials didn't even think twice. They rushed in like hungry dogs. But Shu wasn't gonna let them touch him. He activated Thorn, and in seconds, sharp roots burst from the ground, locking the officials in place. No time wasted, he summoned Thorn Snake, and it sliced through one of them like butter. Then Shu walked up to the next guy, looked him dead in the eyes, and asked, "Where's my father?" No answer. That was it. Shu cut him down on the spot. Out of nowhere, another official tried to sneak up behind him with a giant axe, thinking he had the drop on Shu, but Shu dodged it at the last second. The axe came swinging again, but Shu blocked it. This time, Zheng didn't break. His willpower was holding strong, and it showed. Turns out, this axe guy was the one who captured Shu's father. So of course, Shu tried to use Thorn again to finish it, but nothing happened. He was completely out of strength. Looks like he could only use 3 moves before running dry. The axe official noticed this and quickly told the others to attack together. Shu ran for the tree like his life depended on it, because it did, and the moment he reached it, he stabbed Zheng into the trunk and instantly got his power back. One by one, he cut them all down. The axe guy was in shock. Just a second ago, Shu had nothing left. How did he bounce back like that? Then it hit him. Shu can restore his strength as long as there are trees around. The guy panicked and screamed, "Burn the trees. Burn them now." But Shu wasn't having any of that. He unleashed more thorns to stop anyone from getting close, completely locking down the area. He kept increasing the thorns, keeping everything under control, making sure no one could even think about touching those trees. And finally, one of the terrified officials spilled the truth. Shu's father has been sent to Wangling, and the one behind it? Baoer's father himself. When confronted, Baoer's father actually admitted it. He claimed Shu's dad, Fan Yao, killed several constables, and by law, he should be executed. That lit a fire in Shu. His anger boiled over. If it weren't for the corrupt nobles and these crooked officials, none of this would have happened. He raised his sword, ready to end it, but Baoer's father shouted, "I'm an official of the Empire. You can't kill me. If you do, it's rebellion." Shu didn't flinch, not even for a second. He raised his sword and took out Baoer's father right there on the spot. And honestly, can you blame him? His brother's dead, his home burned down, his father's been taken. What's left to lose? Rebellion? So what? He's already lost everything. Up on the rooftop, those 2 mysterious observers who'd been silently watching, they saw what they needed and just disappeared without a word. Their part was done for now. Back on the ground, there was only one official Shu didn't kill, the one who gave him info about his father. Shu walked up to him and ordered him to tell him everything. He wanted the full story of what happened to Fan Yao. With Yu Sheng still weak and sick, and his brother's lifeless body on his back, Shu made his way through the city, step by step, heading straight to the Hu's pharmacy, the place where all this chaos had started. But of course, not everyone had the full story. One of the pharmacy servants, clearly still loyal to the old ways, actually had the nerve to try and attack Shu, like he forgot the storm Shu had just unleashed. Big mistake. Shu activated Thorn, locked the guy in place, and snapped his hand like a twig. He made his point clear. "I'm not here to kill anyone. I just need Lingxi. This is a place to heal, not to harm." As tension filled the room, one of the workers recognized him, realized he was the one who wiped out all those officials. The shopkeeper didn't waste a second. He ordered them to bring Shu the best medicine they had. No questions. Shu took the medicine, but of course, he had no money left. Still, he told the shopkeeper, "Put it on credit." At dawn, Yusheng finally woke up. Shu told her it was time to say goodbye to her brother. They sat where he prepared to bury Luo. Yusheng broke down in tears, telling her brother she'll keep living, no matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets. Then came the most emotional moment, Shu showing Luo his new sword. He knelt by the grave and promised, "I'll protect Yusheng. I won't let anyone hurt her. I'll be a better brother than you ever were." You could feel the weight of those words. They buried Luo together, and then headed straight to Dr. Li. Now that they had the medicine, there was hope again. If anyone could heal Yusheng, it was him. Now we jump into Yuan Shou's dream. His 2 stunning concubines are playing around with him, just like a mischievous middle-aged king would enjoy. But then, suddenly, his face freezes. There's a sentence written right there. The golden scales wake up from the awe-inspiring dream. That wakes him up with a shock, and he's furious, calling the whole thing outrageous and audacious. Then, things get wild. 5 carbs show up in his dream, each with different colors, all about to devour him. And just like that, he wakes up, heart pounding. Without wasting a moment, he calls in the Divination Bureau. After a while, 5 officials arrive and bow down to the king, ready to interpret this mysterious prophecy. When they read it, everyone feels the weight of its meaning. The prophecy goes like this. The golden scales wake up from the awe-inspiring dream. The red scales comfort the disappointed people. The yellow scales act as the hidden strategist. The black scales dominate the gold and silver. The green scales pull out the dragon's tendon. But wait here, remember, just a few days before, Li Yuanrang from the Imperial Observatory found signs of a new emperor rising in the southeast. So, if this new emperor is backed by these 5 scales, it basically means the Yuanming dynasty's current ruler, Yuan Shou himself, might be overthrown. The 5 officials understood this grim truth but dared not say a word. Anyone who spoke of it would face death. They bowed, hoping the king wouldn't call on any of them. But the king picked one at random. The first guy started babbling nonsense trying to explain, but the king was having none of it and killed him on the spot. Next up was the old man Lu Tai. Lu wasn't about to die like that. He claimed he was better at predicting good and bad events, avoiding disasters. So, he suggested why not asking the divination master who's an expert at interpreting dreams and prophecies. Basically, Lu was trying to save himself. The divination master asked where the prophecy came from. The king said, Shi Dao traitor. The divination master's face lit up. He congratulated the king, saying when the great ancestor fought for the world and founded the Yuanming dynasty, the Shi Dao people helped him. Back then, the ancestor gave the Shi Dao people huge respect, made them grand national teachers with a massive fiefdom of 100,000 households. But the Shi Dao people considered themselves transcendent beings and refused money, wandering freely. The ancestor then built temples and wrote books to honor them. But then, mysteriously, those temples and books were destroyed by purple fire, and the Shi Dao people's deeds faded into legend. The divination master believed the Shi Dao people had returned, ready to help the king secure his dynasty forever. Still, the king pressed for the meaning behind the prophecy. The divination master said the carp represented the ocean, and the red and blue Wenyao fish had special significance. But honestly, the divination master was just making stuff up, thinking the king was gullible. That didn't work out well, so the king killed him too. Then Lu, the old man, decided to take a gamble. He said scales without horns were jiao, creatures fighting for control over the dragon's body. But jiaos were fake dragons, just rivers and streams, weak and slow to grow in power. Lu suggested the king gather the best craftsmen, forge a sword to slay the jiao, and build a bridge to hang the sword on to stop the jiao from entering the sea. The king praised Lu's idea, but Lu was fooling himself. The king then used his sword power to create a giant whale that destroyed all members of the Divination Bureau. Finally, the king ordered the gathering of all skilled craftsmen to forge the dragon-slaying sword and build the hanging sword bridge. Shu and Yuxing are on their way to see the doctor, but suddenly, Shu just can't move. His body temperature spikes. He's sweating like crazy. They couldn't rest because Yuxing's illness can't wait any longer. Just then, out of nowhere, someone charges at them. But don't freak out, Mu Zheng's blade spirit is here, along with his bird buddy Feng Feng. Shu and Yuxing immediately realize this is no ordinary visitor, it's a monster. The spirit starts poking and prodding Shu all over, complaining that he's way too weak and seriously needs more training. Honestly, this spirit is super annoying, non-stop nagging even though Shu's obviously drained. Then Shu just collapses to the ground. Yuxing's worried and actually grabs the spirit, telling him to shut up for a bit. That's when the spirit notices something. Yuxing is the master of Juyi, her sword. So Yuxing grabs Juyi and starts using its healing power on Shu. But just as she's helping, she also collapses because she's so sick. The spirit? Totally disappointed. He's thinking, how could the Blade Lander lend his swords to such weak people? With that, Mu Zheng's spirit disappears. He can't stick around if Shu can't even support him right now. Meanwhile, the poor little bird Feng Feng is left all alone. Not far from there, Dr. Li and his grandson are out gathering herbs and materials in the same forest. The grandson brags about wanting to do something big, not just be some barefoot village doctor. His dad gets mad, like, when I die, who's going to help the villagers with their headaches and fevers? Just then, they stumble on Shu and Yuxing collapsed on the ground. Old Li checks Shu and Yuxing's pulses, and Shanzi, his grandson, is standing there clueless, asking what's going on. But Li doesn't even bother answering because Shanzi is kinda slow on the uptake. Then Li's face changes when he examines Shu's body closely and realizes they have smallpox. Yep, that's serious. Li asks Shan if he touched them, And of course, Shan did. Lee immediately pushes him back and explains that people who already had smallpox aren't afraid of catching it again, but Shan hasn't had it before. So, Lee tells him to burn some mugwort for fumigation, change his clothes, and boil them in hot water to avoid getting infected. Lee's handling this like a pro, but Shan's brain keeps wandering. He even wonders if his grandpa is just going to abandon Shu and Yixing's bodies in the wilderness. Keep in mind, Shanzi is actually sworn brothers with Shu and Yixing, so that thought really ticks off Lee. As a physician, he can't just let them die like that. Before they carry Shu and Yixing inside, Lee wets a handkerchief and makes Shan wear it to protect him from infection. But Shan can't stand the smell. Suddenly it hits him. How did Lee even wet the handkerchief? There's no river nearby. Well, turns out Lee just pissed on it. Yep, he made his grandson wear a piss-soaked handkerchief. Honestly, Shan's stupidity deserves it. Lee puts Yixing on the bed and tells Shan to go call Aunt Zheng to help change Yixing's clothes. Lee starts fumigating the entire house with mugwort smoke to keep the infection from spreading. The smoke's meant to drive away all evil spirits in the 5 pestilences. And Zheng comes out to help with Yixing's clothes, and the place fills with that thick mugwort smoke. Everyone around is pitching in to help old Lee take care of Shu and Yixing. Lee checks the herbs Shu managed to bring along and is genuinely surprised. These aren't just any herbs. They're rare and hard to find. He takes the lingji mushroom and starts mixing it with other herbs, getting ready to make a cure for Yixing's illness. Shan finally comes back with the GG grass he was sent to fetch, but Lee's not happy. This is a critical moment, and Shan took way too long. Lee's worried. After he's gone, who's going to take care of this village if Shan keeps acting like this? He's really trying to change Shan's attitude, but Shan's stubborn and not buying it. Shan goes to check on Yixing and sees her pulse getting weak. Panicked, he yells for his grandfather. Lee checks her again and immediately orders Shan to bring an oil lamp, a fresh lamp wick, and a piece of cotton cloth. Then Lee presses on the Feishu acupoints on Yixing's back, right where the lung's energy is focused. Using this technique called explosion moxibustion, he stimulates the points to open them up, and just like that, Yixing wakes up. Yixing wakes up and Shan immediately asks about her brother. The moment she hears it, her face falls. She tells him Luo died. That hits Shan hard because Luo wasn't just anyone. He was a sworn brother to him. Shan breaks down crying, and Lee quickly snaps at him to stop and rush to check if the medicine is ready. Lee reassures Yixing that now with the lingji in hand, she's definitely going to get better. Now, let's switch over to Fenyao, Shu's dad. He's being dragged along with some commoners into Wangling, walking calmly, but his blade, yeah, it talks, starts pestering him to use this chance to kill all the officials. Fei's about to listen, but then he hears they're nearly at Wangling, so he hides the blade just in time. This blade's spirit is pretty annoying, constantly nagging and babbling. Fei recalls the day he took Luo from his son and brought him home. That day he slaughtered many officials. The only one left standing was the axe-wielding official who Shu ended up killing later. As this axe guy tries to strike Fei, a purple-haired woman jumps in to block the attack and save him. Then another man shows up. These two were officials from Wangling sent to Fengpei City to recruit laborers. If you remember, these are the same 2 people who were watching Shu fight those officials earlier. Fei feels something's off. He either recognizes these 2 or just knows trouble's brewing. The axe official lays it out. Fei killed a bunch of their men, so by law, he's supposed to be executed. Then Bauerstad shows up with some other officials and says Fei committed a capital crime, but he's worried that taking Fei straight to Wangling might break the Yuanming Code. Now the official from Wangling jumps in, playing it smart. He says the Yuanming Code demands local officials fully cooperate when higher-ups conscript labor, and if they don't, they face immediate punishment. Basically, he's using the law as a weapon against the local powers. The officials are ready to cause trouble, but Bauerstad shuts that down quick. The Wangling official adds if anyone's unhappy, they can report it to the Ministry of Personnel. Then he introduces himself. He's a subordinate of General Zhang Tian, the commander of the left Imperial Guard for the Crown Prince, Yang Feng. Once they get out of earshot from the officials, Fei recognizes Yang Feng, and it turns out they're old friends. Fei thanks him for saving his life back then but asks for one more favor. Fei tells him there's another kid hidden at his house, that's Luo, and wants Yang Feng to save him. But Yang Feng warns he's already taken big risks helping Fei. If the magistrate digs deeper and this case reaches the palace, it won't be a simple matter of a few deaths. Then he drops that he wasn't planning to help this time, so Fei should be grateful to the woman with him, Hong Do. Turns out Fei and Hong Do are old friends too. She says she came looking for Fei and Shu Yu. After hearing Fei's story, Hongdo's pretty mad at him for neglecting even his own son. She tells him he has to get to Wangling to avoid the danger ahead, and maybe even see the person he wants to see. Now back to the present. The Blade Spirit is annoying as always, rambling and nagging for a straight answer. It warns Fei that going to Wangling might actually get him killed, according to its prophecy. But Fei just smiles, ready to push forward no matter what's coming. Outside the royal mausoleum, all the commoners are gathered. One official is telling everyone that they're building a mausoleum for the king. The commoners are being split up, each sent to a different camp. Fei's Blade Spirit, Di Long, reminds him about the prophecy saying the royal mausoleum will become an eternal resting place. Basically, Fei's grave will be there. Fei tells the spirit not to worry so much, saying he won't die. Plus, his chi has gotten stronger lately. Di Long asks if Fei really can escape fate. He says if someone's meant to drown at sea, they should just stay away from the ocean to buy some more time. But Fei is focused on one thing, fulfilling a long-held wish and then beating that fate. Then the official hands Fei a leg chain and orders him to put it on. Nearby, two guys are carrying a poster with Fei's face on it. Looks like they want to catch him or even kill him. So, for now, they're just waiting for the right moment. Now, let's check out the camp Fei ended up in. Su Ching-shou has made himself the boss here. He's about to eat a whole chicken that his servant Qin Yuan Liang brought him. Not only that, but Qing is using Yuan's body as a chair while he eats the whole chicken, not sharing a bite with the poor servant. Then, he throws the chicken bones to the other prisoners to fight over. Talk about a horrible boss. Qing even grabs Yuan's head, mocking him and saying that a servant's fate is to serve loyally. Yuan's expression flickers for a moment, but he quickly masks it with a smile. Di Long senses something. He tells Fei there's another blade master here too. The blade spirits can't sense each other directly, but just now someone gave off a hint of spiritual energy, meaning they carry a special blade as well. Di Long warns Fei not to rush into anything unless absolutely necessary. Yuan takes Fei around to show him what kind of work they're stuck with. Fei thinks it's going to be some normal hard labor, like carrying heavy stuff. But no, turns out they're lugging around dead bodies, and the pile of them is massive. Yuan explains that inside the royal tomb labor camps, there are hundreds of thousands of workers, and every day a huge number of people die. Fei feels really down about it. He wonders, if these people die so far from home, why don't they hire undertakers to bring them back to their families for proper burials? But that's the harsh truth. Nobles see these folks as nothing more than cattle. As Yuan hauls another dead body, Fei takes out some clothes to cover it, but Yuan tells him not to bother. There are just too many dead. No way they can care for all of them. While they're carrying bodies to the burial spot, Qing, the boss, is just chilling, relaxing while everyone else works. Fei notices some servants are stripping clothes off the dead and taking them. They do this to sell the clothes and then spend the money on prostitutes. Fei warns them that karma won't let them off easy for that. Chang laughs, mocking Fei's missing left arm, and tells him to strip the clothes off the dead bodies too. But Fei stands his ground, saying flat out he won't do something so wrong. Cheng isn't happy and orders two workers to attack Fei. Fei blocks one attacker, but the other sneaks up from behind and lands a hit. Fei is seriously outnumbered now. Cheng just stomped on his head and warned him straight up, if Fei gets in his way again, he'll cripple him for good. Fei's furious about the horrible job they have to do. These dead commoners don't even get coffins or gravestones. The only thing they have left is that shroud, basically their last bit of dignity. Fei asks Di Long if the blade master among them is stronger than him. Fei's basically accepted that he might die here, but he refuses to let anyone take his shroud from him when that day comes. Then, using his power, he turns the ground beneath them into mud, and the corpses start moving like zombies. Yeah, it seems like this might be part of Fei's ability. Fei tells Qing this could be the punishment the dead commoners are sending his way. Then he pulls out his sword, and Yuan finally realizes Fei is a blade master too. He's one himself. While checking the bodies nearby, Fei notices something. These corpses all have smallpox. Every single one of them died because of that disease. That explains the huge number of deaths in the camp. Fei called all those people scums for selling the shrouds of the dead infected with smallpox, spreading the disease even more. Now, let's switch over to Her Majesty. She's there praying to Bodhisattva, hoping for a blessing and protection over her sick son, Yuer. The imperial physician comes in to check on him, and tells her that based on the symptoms, Yuer is probably infected with major smallpox, the second stage of the disease. But there's some good news. His pulse is much steadier, the fever's gone down, and thick scabs have formed. The physician even offers to bring in all the imperial doctors to focus on treating Yu, but the Majesty refuses. She knows the Mausoleum district needs the doctors more than her son right now. Then comes the bad news. Another 200 people have been infected recently, and nearly 100 have died. In total, about 1,300 people are sick with smallpox. Hearing this, the Majesty is deeply saddened. She orders the physician to come up with a way to stop the spread. The physician suggests 3 methods, but all basically involve spreading the disease on purpose. His reasoning? Those who get infected and recover won't catch it again. The Majesty declines, though, saying it's too risky. If things go wrong, everyone could die. But the physician explains the severity of smallpox breaks down into 3 types: minor, major, and hemorrhagic. If they can find patients with minor smallpox and use them as the starting point for a controlled spread, using the variolation method, where 1 infects 2, 2 infect 4, and so on, they could, within a year or 2, infect everyone in the Mausoleum district but with the least severe form. The Majesty immediately orders the physician to figure out how to identify those with minor smallpox quickly because every day of delay means more deaths. After the physician leaves, Tang Dao arrives to visit the Majesty. Let's jump back to our boy Shu. Li's been feeding him medicine for days, but Shu still hasn't woken up. Li explains that the blisters are just starting to form, and only after the pus and scabs fully develop will Shu begin to get better. Then Li spots Shan and tries to drag him away, but suddenly they notice something. Zheng's spirit has awakened. This spirit immediately calls out for its bird friend Feng Feng, and Li and Shan are just stunned. What's up with this talking mushroom spirit? Shan even wonders if it's some kind of deity that's come down. The spirit tells Shan to work hard if he wants a prosperous business and to stop relying on blessings from others. Even Shan's grandfather agrees with the spirit blade on this one. Then Feng Feng comes back with a worm, and the spirit blade screams like it's terrified of it. It's honestly pretty funny, but man, this spirit blade is super annoying to have around. The spirit keeps nagging about Shu sleeping so much, which is a real headache. Then, it starts squeezing one of Shu's blisters, saying this is going to be so much fun, and it doesn't stop there, it just keeps squeezing the blisters. Shan threatens to boil Feng Feng in a soup if the spirit doesn't quit it. This whole scene is like a little movie, seriously. The spirit promises to stop, but that's a lie because it can turn invisible. So it goes invisible and comes right back to keep squeezing those blisters. Total annoyance. But here's the twist. All that messing around actually wakes Shu up. Shu's furious at the spirit, threatening to hammer it to death if it pulls a stunt like that again. Yixing and Shan are so happy he finally woke up. He'd been out cold for 5 days. Shu's shocked too because he still has to get to the royal mausoleum to save his father. That night, Shu stepped outside and settled into a quiet spot, his thoughts heavy with concern for his father. As he sat there, Li came over and cautioned him that spending time out in the cool air might lead to a cold. Li also explained his disease could take anywhere from 6 to 7 days to overcome. Shu, however, felt that he couldn't afford such delays. His father's life depended on his rapid intervention. Shu recalled the grim news. The county magistrate had arranged for killers to pursue his father. You might remember the 2 men carrying Fei's poster. They weren't mere bystanders. They were the very assassins sent on this dangerous mission. Li warned that even if the threat was real, the smallpox infection that might plague Shu was highly contagious. Departing now could not only endanger him but also risk spreading the disease to many innocent people along his journey. Now, let's shift to the Royal Mausoleum camp. Fei had gone that night with the simple intention of washing himself. In an unexpected moment, one of the assassins charged from behind. With remarkable quickness, Fei used the bucket of water he was carrying as a shield against the attack. Barely catching his breath, he faced a second strike, a determined lunge by another assassin. Fei's reflexes kicked in. He dodged the blow and managed to push back the larger assailant. Listening carefully to their accents, Fei realized that these men came from Fenpei City, which only deepened the mystery of who was truly behind the attempt on his life. It became clear that the assassins had one sole objective, to kill him, a mission likely sanctioned by the county office. Perched high in the branches of a nearby tree, Yuan watched the confrontation with a detached calm, his eyes taking in every detail. The combined force of the 2 attackers was beginning to overwhelm Fei. In a fleeting moment of desperation, he thought about unleashing his secret weapon, D Long. But with 1,000 people gathered in the area, exposing such a secret was a risk he couldn't take. Instead, Fei made a bold decision and began sprinting toward the military camp. Unfortunately, The chains bound to his legs betrayed him. As he ran, they tripped him up, and he fell hard to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, the assassins wasted no time and struck at him. Just when everything seemed to be falling apart, Yang Feng showed up and turned things around. The moment one of the officials appeared, the assassins scattered without a second thought. Fei wasted no time thanking him for coming to his rescue yet again. Then Yang Feng dropped some surprising news. His son, Shu, had taken down every official in Fengpei City. Fei couldn't help but burst into laughter at first, thinking Yang Feng was joking. But when Yang Feng pointed out that borrowing such a mystical blade hardly ever comes without consequences, and it looked like Shu made good use of it, there was no mistaking the seriousness of his words. As they continued talking, Yang Feng suddenly felt the weight of unseen eyes. Without missing a beat, he flung his sword toward the source of that presence. Yuan, who had been spying on them, vanished entirely as if he had never been there at all. Not long after that tense moment, Yuan began his climb up a huge cliff, determined to reach its peak. Along the way, his blade spirit, Su Sha, couldn't hold back a question. Why hadn't he killed the Blade Master Fei, considering he might become an opponent later on? With calm conviction, Yuan replied that not every Blade Master has to be an enemy. Su Sha wasn't quite satisfied with that answer, remarking instead that the most formidable threat to Blade Masters right now comes from the current imperial household. Finally reaching the top of the cliff, Yuan bowed respectfully to his master. His master was a striking woman, and Yuan couldn't hide his surprise at seeing her in this state. She explained that placing cucumbers on one's face helps nourish the skin, a useful trick as you get older, since without a little maintenance, anyone can lose their youthful glow. Yuan, however, disagreed wholeheartedly, insisting that she was the most beautiful person in all of heaven. In an instant, her expression shifted. She lunged at him with a challenging look, asking if he was teasing her. While checking him over, she discovered that he hadn't brought anything with him that day. Remember the chicken Chang had eaten? Well, it was intended for her, but already devoured. With that, she attacked her disciple with her sword, leaving no room for further explanation. Yuan swiftly drew his blade to block Sui Ren's attack. Her strike was so powerful it shattered his blade, but that was just how his weapon was meant to behave. Regaining control, he tried to bolt away, but Sui Ren was right on his heels. Quick on his feet, Yuan transformed his broken blade into a diamond shield to fend off another blow. Still, Sui Ren's sword managed to shatter the shield. Thinking fast, Yuan tapped the ground, and his blade morphed into chains that wrapped around and immobilized her sword. Even so, as soon as Yuan started to run, he found that Sui Ren's sword was already closing in, and the match was lost. Sui Ren then explained that the key to mastering a sword lies in constant change, adjusting your weapon to fit the enemy, the moment, and the situation you face. With training over for the day, Sui Ren leapt over a tree and settled down for a nap, informing her disciple not to come the following day since she would be away for a few days. Before Yuan left, she advised him to use her absence to better understand Su Sha's weaknesses and to communicate more closely with his blade spirit. Later, as Yuan descended the cliff, Su Sha remarked that despite having plenty of chi left, he hadn't retaliated. Yuan calmly explained that his master had instructed him to hide his dragon and not to reveal his full strength, so he obeyed. The next day brought everyday concerns. People queued up to collect their food, and Yuan and Fei joined in, only to find that their bowls had no salt. Their disappointment was evident. Yuan explained that the price of salt had surged to 200 coins, so the nobles decided to serve food without salt to the workers, saving it for themselves. Yet, Yuan had his own tricks. He managed to procure some salt and shared a portion with Fei. Once Fei added the salt, they both enjoyed their meal. Fei remarked that Yuan wasn't a bad person after all, but warned him to avoid getting into trouble with the officials in the future. Yuan, a bit taken aback, asked, "Then why not protect me?" Some workers started bad-mouthing Fei and Yuan behind their backs, thinking it'd be a good idea to gang up and teach them a lesson. But Chang? He wasn't having any of it. What really ticked him off was that they still hadn't gotten any intel on the Golden Crow sect. That's what he was after. Then Yuan stepped in, saying he actually knows something about them. That caught Chang's attention fast. He asked straight up, "Is it true the Golden Crow sect has holy water that can cure smallpox?" Yuan confirmed it. Apparently, some people who drank it really did recover. And Chang, who's clearly worried he might catch smallpox himself, was ready to do whatever it takes. He wanted to buy the holy water before it's too late. But Yuan cut him off and said, "There's no need to buy it. He heard that all you have to do is become a follower of the Golden Crow sect to receive it. The problem is, the Imperial Court is cracking down on the sect hard, so they're in hiding now, difficult to find, but not impossible. Then Yuan mentioned something interesting. The leader of the sect is a man named Yu Ping, and he's currently at the stone statue camp. Yuan told Chang he'd go talk to him and find out how to join the sect. Chang promised that if Yuan managed to bring back the holy water, he'd make sure he's rewarded. Later that night, deep in secret, the followers of the Golden Crow sect gathered quietly. Yu Ping, their leader, addressed them. He said the insects from the royal mausoleum, meaning the officials, have been attacking the sect and killing their people, so they had to stop handing out holy water. Then, things got intense. He told everyone to get ready. It was time for their ritual. He brought out a scroll, and on it was a drawing of their saint, the figure they all worshipped. Just as they started the ritual, chaos struck. Someone slashed the tent from the outside. They'd been discovered. The officials had arrived, and leading the charge was none other than Zhang Tian, the left guard of the crown prince. Oh, and he's not just any guard, he's also a blade master. Yang ordered his officials to completely surround the Golden Crow sect followers. Then, Zhang, clearly looking to provoke, walked up and started mocking the saint's drawing. He even poked holes in its eyes and laughed right in their faces. Naturally, the followers wanted to attack him, but Yu Ping quickly stepped in. Using his blade's power, he created a shield of sand that pulled his people back and stopped them from rushing forward. Yu Ping told them to run while he held off the enemy. According to the prophecy, they were supposed to stand and fight together, but there was no time for that now. Staying would only get them all killed. Yu Ping faced off against Zhang. The fight was brutal, Zhang slicing through Yu Ping's sand like it was nothing. Still, Yu Ping refused to back down. Yuan was watching from the sidelines, surprised to see that Yu Ping was using a recasting type of sword just like the one he has. Zhang started gaining the upper hand and pushing Yu Ping back, but he wouldn't give up so easily. Then, things got ugly. Yang and the officials began slaughtering the sect followers, which made Yu Ping furious. In a desperate move, he threw his sword at Zhang, which he blocked it easily, but then the sword suddenly turned completely into sand and trapped him in place, immobilizing him. Zhang was completely trapped by Yu Ping's sand. He couldn't move a muscle, and Yu Ping had the perfect opening to end it right there. But just as Yu Ping was about to strike, Zheng activated a strange ability and somehow broke free, stopping Yu Ping at the very last second. In a flash, he countered and landed a brutal strike right to Yu Ping's heart. It looked fatal, but Yu Ping didn't fall. How? Well, turns out Yuan had jumped in using Su Sha's ability, covering the tip of the official's blade with a rock to blunt the impact. The damage was reduced just enough for Yu Ping to survive. Then Yuan used chains to pull Yu Ping out of harm's way. Zhang tried to chase them down, but before he could move, a fire suddenly broke out and forced him to turn back and deal with it. Su Sha wasn't happy though. She reminded Yuan that he was supposed to keep a low profile. But Yuan was just in the mood to help and couldn't resist jumping in. Now let's move on to Sun Daya and Ping De. These two are high-ranking members of the Golden Crow sect, specifically two of the three altar chiefs of Dongli City. They were waiting for the third chief to arrive, but since he was late, they decided to go ahead because the Wood Bright King, one of the 8 Bright Kings of the Golden Crow sect, had already shown up. Meanwhile, Yang Zhaqing arrived in Dongli City, which is under the control of the 3 altar chiefs. His foster son, Wang Guqing, gave him an update, saying that 10% of the city's population had already become followers of the sect. Sun Daya and Ping De came out to greet Yang respectfully, and Yang explained he was here to invite the 3 altar chiefs to accompany him on a mission to the royal mausoleum. But the 2 chiefs told him that Zhu Xingxing, the 3rd chief, wasn't there yet. Sun Daya, clearly annoyed, said it was one thing for Zhu to be lazy during normal missionary work, but now that the Wood Bright King was present, his absence was just plain disrespectful. Right as he was bad-mouthing Zhu, someone made a grand entrance, flying in on a massive eagle. It was a stunning young woman, Zhu's daughter, Taeyin. She landed, paid her respects to the Wood Bright King, and explained that her father caught a cold while out doing missionary work, so he sent her in his place to carry out the king's orders. Wang Guqing couldn't help but be stunned by how beautiful Taeyin was. But Sun Daya? He wasn't having any of it. He started mocking her, calling her useless just because she's a woman. Not only that, he threw insults at her father, Zhu. Taeyin didn't stay quiet though. She fired right back, telling Sun it was one thing for him to make things difficult before, but now that the Wood Bright King was here, how could he keep talking trash? She even asked if he wasn't afraid the king might catch wind of what he was saying. She shut him down hard. Naturally, Sun Daya got furious and lunged to slap her, but an old man stepped in before anything happened. He was ready to break Sun's bones for the insult. That old man was none other than Grandpa Gio. Yang quickly reminded everyone about the Golden Crow sect's rule number 11. Disciples must stay friendly and united. No fighting allowed. Grandpa Gio let Sun go after that. Then Wan Guqing explained their plan. They were heading to the royal mausoleum to carry out a sacred rite. There's a smallpox outbreak happening there, so he wanted Taeyin to stay behind. But she wasn't having it. If Wan Guqing could go, why couldn't she? Wan Guqing tried to be polite and said it wasn't disrespect, just concerned that if she got infected and her beautiful face got pockmarked, it would be a tragedy. With that settled, their destination was set. Yang mentioned that Dongli City was still unstable and might need one of the altar chiefs to stay back and keep things under control. But Peng De seemed worried about something else. He kept thinking his calculations weren't adding up. By the time they returned, he feared everyone in Dongli City would have the surname Zhu, so he was thinking about sending a letter back right away to make sure everyone stays alert. As they set off, Yang explained the sect was moving the main altar to Ludi, known as the Land of Sunrise, a blessed place for the sect. But if hundreds of thousands of people moved at once, it would cause too much noise and attract the vermin from Yuanming. This trip to the royal mausoleum? It was meant to use the smallpox epidemic as a distraction to draw those vermin out. Now let's switch back to Shu. He started training, thinking he could chop down a tree with one blow, but all he managed was to break his sword again. No surprise there. Shu got frustrated. His master could casually split a giant rock apart with just a swing. That's when the spirit appeared, explaining that Tang, the master, was a blade lender with chi of 5 different attributes. He had infused the chi of Gang into his blade and used that blade chi to split the rock. Shu didn't understand a thing, which made the spirit furious. He's been a blade master for so long and still clueless about blade attributes. The spirit then began explaining that chi and blades have 5 different attributes: Gang, manifestation, control, recast, and ecological. The spirit kept explaining about Shu's blade, Muzheng. Turns out, it's not just some regular weapon. It carries the chi of the ecological type, which means it enhances growth. That's why every time the sword breaks, it actually restores itself. Pretty handy, right? So the spirit, acting all wise now, climbed up on this big chunk of wood and started instructing Shu like a real teacher. He told him to pour his chi into the blade, let it flow out like a torrent, strong and constant. Shu did exactly that, and boom, his sword actually grew back right in front of his eyes, then shattered that huge piece of wood like it was nothing. Shu stood there, eyes wide, completely shocked, but also super hyped that he finally pulled something like this off. Guess the blade spirit isn't totally useless after all, huh? Li then walked in to check on Shu, and Shu told him he's feeling better now. But he didn't waste any time. He got straight to the point and said there's something big going on. He has to leave and save his father. Li understood and went off to prepare provisions for the journey. Shu also asked if he could bring Yuxing along, but Li shut that down quick. He explained that her condition had worsened, and she needed at least 3 months of rest. Apparently, the Lingji they used to treat her illness wasn't all that effective. While Shu was down with smallpox, Yuxing secretly used her blade to treat him, and after that, she vomited blood. That's how much it cost her. Even after hearing that, Shu still wanted to bring her with him. He felt like he had to. After all, he promised her brother that he'd keep her safe and close. But then Yuxing herself walked in, and she made it clear he should go alone. She didn't want to slow him down anymore. Plus, she had made up her mind to stay behind and study medicine with Li. It was an emotional moment. They hugged, and then, just in time, all of Shu's sworn brothers showed up. One by one, they reassured him they'd stay back and protect Yuxing no matter what. With that, Shu paid his respects, said his goodbyes, and finally set off on his journey to the royal mausoleum. But what Shu didn't know, his master Tang was silently watching him leave from behind. Why? Because Qi Xiao, the red sword from before, remembered Shu, and now it wants to meet the one who wields it, the true blade master. Tang, our chill master, was just minding his business, riding on his tiny donkey, Mao Mao, flipping through that erotic book Shu gave him. Guy's having the time of his life when suddenly, he senses someone nearby. And guess who shows up? Senior Sister Suiren. Yup, that's Yuan's master. With a flick of her strange ability, she swaps Tang's book with a wanted poster, his wanted poster, actually. It straight up says there's a bounty of 10,000 gold on Tang's head. Tang's stunned, like what in the world is this? But Rin? Oh, she starts reading the erotic book she just snatched and bursts out laughing. She even teleports right next to Tang, plops herself down on Mao Mao's back like it's no big deal, and jokingly suggests, "Why don't we talk about the things in this book?" Tang, being his usual deadpan self, just calmly pushes her away and says, "My donkey's too small and weak to carry two people." That triggered Rin instantly, like he basically just called her fat without meaning to. She got pissed and snapped, calling him a bronze rank straight man, and boom, suddenly she's using her blade ability to summon a whole bunch of sword copies all pointing straight at him. He catches the real blade with his bare hand, calmly repeating his point. Mao Mao really can't carry two people. No panic, just facts. Rin wasn't having any of it. She lunged forward, pushing her sword toward Tang, which exploded into a massive blast. But Tang being Tang, he just teleports out of danger like it's just another day at work, even grabbing Mao Mao with him. Rin, now properly furious, yells, "Who cares about the stupid donkey? I want that bounty." She straight up says she's here to capture Tang for the 10,000 taels of gold. Tang throws out the classic line, "We're cultivators, above worldly affairs. Fighting over money? Come on." But at this point, it's clear these two have history. Rin doesn't let up, complaining about how expensive things are down the mountain. Just buying some rouge and powder costs more than 100 taels. Tang just looks at her, fully amused, and says, "You're nearly 200 years old and still getting ripped off like that." She gets mad again and uses her blade technique to create multiple copies of herself, all charging at Tang at once. But this guy is insane. He blocks every single attack, and we're talking about sword strikes that carry real weight. Not only is he protecting himself, he's also shielding poor Mao Mao. Then with a couple of smooth hand swings, Tang dispels all her clones. He warns her again, "Keep this up, and we'll break the sect's forbidden rules." And just when you think it's over, nope. Round takes it to the next level. She summons countless sword copies, literally flooding the sky with blades, all aimed straight at Tang. After seeing Rin drop her ultimate technique, filling the sky with swords like it's a blade rainstorm, Tang finally decides, all right, time to stop playing around. He pulls out his own sword, and what does he do? He straight up mirrors her move, summoning multiple copies of his own blade. Two sword masters going all out, their techniques clashing mid-air, blades flashing everywhere. It's chaos, but also beautiful in that badass martial arts way. In the end, Tang comes out on top. He destroys all of Rin's copies, then overwhelms her with his own, pushing her to teleport away to avoid getting wrecked. But Tang's not done. He instantly retrieves his original sword from the mess of copies and, without even looking, points it backward, stopping Rin's sneak attack like he was expecting it all along. Cold and clean. He tells her straight up, "If you keep pushing, I'll actually get serious." That was enough for Rin. She backs off, finally giving up. They start talking and Tang mentions he already knew she took on a blade master disciple. Rin's like, "Well, I heard you did too," but she has no idea Tang's student is the one who got Qi Xiao, the legendary red sword, to acknowledge him as master. Clearly, something big is coming. Tang even says it himself, an era of chaos is on the horizon. The dragon vein at the Yuanming Royal Mausoleum is about to be disturbed, and things won't stay quiet for long. He asks Rin if she wants to tag along, but she refuses, heading off on her own path. Now let's jump back to our boy Shu. You'd think he's off on some high-stakes mission, maybe a spy mission or something intense, but no, he's just sneaking around a rich family's place to steal a horse. That's it. And of course, right at the worst time, the annoying blade spirit pops up again. It won't stop yapping, going on and on about morals and how stealing is wrong, trying to lecture Shu like it's some kind of holy teacher. Shu's just trying to focus, but this spirit's seriously driving him nuts. Shu ignores the noise, calmly uses his blade to create leaves, and lures the horse right to him. Shu finally managed to lure the horse outside using leaves. But now comes the real problem. How is he even supposed to ride it without a stable or saddle? And as expected, the horse had zero interest in cooperating. It looked at Shu like, "Who do you think you are?" And then BM. It kicked him so hard he went flying straight into the ground. Bro got absolutely folded. And of course, that annoying blade spirit just sat there laughing its head off, mocking Shu for not listening to its so-called wisdom. Furious, Shu had enough. He activated the blade's ability and summoned roots from the ground, locking the horse in place and forcing it to submit, for now. He hopped on like a boss, but the horse wasn't done. It charged forward, then did a full U-turn back into the courtyard and launched Shu off its back again like a human cannonball. All that noise? It woke up the officials. They rushed out, weapons drawn, and surrounded Shu. But this time, Shu didn't even blink. He stood there like a cold-blooded warrior while the blade spirit whispered a warning, reminding him not to kill innocents without a good reason. Shu didn't care. He got up calmly, pointed at the horse, and declared, "This horse is mine now." One of the officials tried to lunge at him, but Shu wasn't having it. With a flick of his hand, roots shot up from the ground and locked all of them in place like statues. Then one of the guards had a lightbulb moment. He'd heard rumors about a white-haired kid who killed the county magistrate not long ago, and guess what? The government put a 500 tael silver bounty on his head. From 5 copper coins to 500 taels of silver? That's a serious glow-up. Still, even after all that, these officials thought they could take him down. They all charged at once. Shu dropped the jokes, dropped the sass, and put on that stone-cold killer expression. Right in that moment, everything just froze. Time felt like it stopped for the officials. Shu stood there, his face cold, emotionless, and you could literally feel the killing intent pouring out of him. It was heavy. 1 second more, and he would have gone full savage mode. But then his attack suddenly just stopped. Instead of fighting, Shu shoved one of the guards aside and made a break for it, sprinting away. The guards weren't dumb, though. They chased after him immediately. So what just happened? Turns out, it was the blade spirit that stopped him. Yep, the same annoying spirit that never shuts up. But this time, it actually did something smart. It told Shu that his killing intent was getting out of control, and if it hadn't snapped him out of it, he would have fallen into his inner demons. And honestly, it had a point. Shu didn't agree at first. He argued, "This world is survival of the fittest. We've been crushed and bullied for so long, and now that I finally have power, why should I keep suffering?" But the spirit wasn't buying that. It clapped back, saying that's the kind of excuse the strong always use to justify stealing and stepping on the weak. Then it brought up a real punch to the gut. That Lingji mushroom Shu risked everything for? To the outside world, it was just some overpriced herb. But for Yisheng, it meant life or death. For that one mushroom, Luo died, Shu's father got exiled to the royal mausoleum, and Shu himself became a wanted criminal. That's the cost they paid for something others treated like it was nothing. The spirit told him to look again. Those officials chasing him weren't monsters. They were just people trying to make a living. Killing them would have been pointless. It reminded him of something deep. In times of chaos, only those who don't delight in killing can truly accomplish great things. Then it asked him the big question, why do you really want to kill? That hit Shu hard. He remembered what he said back when he first started fighting. He didn't kill just for revenge or power. He wanted to build a world where no one was crushed because of their status. A world without the high and low, where everyone stood equal. And the spirit? It respected that about him the most. Then it dropped a heavy truth. Back in the day, during the battles between blade masters, there was a saying, "The world is filled with people, stacked like a mountain." Everyone climbs higher to gain status, to be admired, stepping on others as they go. But really, it's not a mountain, it's a funnel. The higher you climb, the more isolated you become. Until finally, you're alone at the top, and even that isn't freedom, it's a trap. That hit Shu deep. His mindset shifted in that moment. But, hold up, he suddenly remembered he was still being chased by the guards, so he picked up the pace and started running even faster. According to his own calculations, the royal mausoleum is 2,000 li away. If he keeps up a speed of 400 li a day, he'll make it there in 5 days. Let's switch scenes to the Prime Minister's manor, specifically to Cao Xiong, the Prime Minister of the Yuanming dynasty. And what's he doing? Not paperwork, not discussing war strategies, nope. He's just sitting there casually admiring drawings of other ministers' wives. Yep, that's where his focus is right now. Then a servant walks in and brings him a new issue. Minister Zheng, the one in charge of personnel, just submitted a wanted poster, and he's asking Cao Xiong to decide what to do with it. But Xiong? He barely reacts. He brushes it off like it's nothing, saying there are more important matters to deal with. The servant insists, though. This isn't just any petty criminal. The guy in question is a low-born nobody, but he managed to kill a county magistrate and dozens of bailiffs. That's a serious crime. It's basically open rebellion. Even then, Xiong still doesn't get why this is worth his time. In his mind, they've got bigger problems. Like Sun Haiyang of Liashan Ridge and Lu region, he's out there conquering cities left and right. Dongyi, Jihe, Qingze all fall into his forces. Then there's the Golden Crow demon cult down in Ling'an. They've gained serious momentum, rallying hundreds of thousands of followers and sparking rebellion all across the country. 5 or 6 cities have already fallen. Oh, and on top of that, the smallpox outbreak at the royal mausoleum is spiraling out of control. So yeah, from Xiong's perspective, this wanted poster is peanuts. He tells the servant not to bother him with something so small. But the servant doesn't back down. He adds that Minister Zheng was insistent. He told him to mention that the wanted man was once a servant in the imperial father-in-law's mansion. Now that changes things. Xiong's attention sharpens. Curious, he looks at the wanted poster himself, and guess who it is? It's Shu. What really gets Xiong interested is that Shu has green eyes and silver hair. That's rare. Intrigued, he hands the poster back to the servant and tells him to deliver it directly to the imperial father-in-law. But the servant's not done yet. He has one more piece of news, and it's a bombshell. Word just came from the royal mausoleum. The crown prince has contracted smallpox. That instantly sets Xiong off. He unleashes this powerful aura around him. You can feel the tension spike. That right there tells us something big. Xiong is a blade master too. He immediately orders the servant to keep this news from the king and tells him to notify Yuan Wen and Su Riguang to accompany him to the royal mausoleum the next day. As the servant heads out, a new figure shows up, Xiong's master. And get this, she's a tiny, adorable little girl. Yep, our serious, powerful old prime minister is taking orders from a cute candy-eating kid. She tells Xiong that the dragon vein at the mausoleum is about to be disturbed, and when that happens, it'll release the Son of Heaven's chi. That's why she wants to go with him, so she can cleanse his destiny. While munching on her candy, she casually mentions she's gonna let brother Tang Dao try some later. Wait a minute, Tang Dao. So this little girl knows Tang, our legendary blade lender. That gets Xiong thinking. He starts connecting the dots, suspecting that the disciples running around might just be the 5 scales mentioned in the king's prophecy. And now, Xiong wants all 5 to work for him. So he bows to his little master, asking her to introduce him to the others. He's even planning to host a banquet in their honor. But the mood suddenly shifts. The little master stops smiling and stares at him. Isn't having me as your master enough? She asks. Then, calm and mysterious, she says something that sticks. What is fated will come to pass. If it's not in your destiny, don't force it. Xiong was seriously shaken by his master's power, like she could see right through him. And remember, even though she looks like a cute little girl, she's actually over 100 years old, just like Rin. Xiong tries to convince her otherwise, but she tells him bluntly that blade lenders are different, detached from the world and not to be fooled by any of his usual schemes. Now, let's jump back to Taeyin and Grandpa Gio. Taeyin is using her ability to communicate with birds to scout around, trying to gather information. Her real mission is to find someone called Old 18, but so far, nothing useful has come up. Last month, Old 18 sent Gio a message via carrier pigeon saying the current crown prince had also arrived at the royal mausoleum. Taeyin gets mad at Gio for not telling her sooner. Gio defends himself by saying the smallpox outbreak at the mausoleum was already serious, and he didn't want her rushing into danger. Taeyin points out that Old 18 probably went on his own to assassinate the crown prince, and with his skills, even if he failed, he'd escape unharmed. She also knows there are many blade masters at the royal mausoleum. Gio reassures her not to worry, saying those brothers are her blades, only she can decide when to unsheath them. Suddenly, Taeyin notices someone spying on them. It turns out to be Wan Guqing, the foster child of Yang. Wan tells them all the proselytizing points in the royal mausoleum have been destroyed, and they've lost contact with Yu Ping and the other altar masters. He asks if Taeyin can use her birds to help search for clues, but she refuses, saying it's too difficult. Wan then adds that the smallpox outbreak is worse than anyone thought. They're distributing holy water to help those suffering and asks if she can come help. Leading them into the forest, Wan opens a portal. He explains it's his adoptive father's credit blade ability, called the Nook of Southern Bao. And with that, they step through the portal. So, they step out of the portal and suddenly it's daytime. Just a moment ago it was night. Taeyin starts thinking, is this some kind of dream? To test it, she injures her finger. The pain is real, but nothing around them has changed. One gets worried seeing her bleed and reassures her that staying inside this Nook of Southern Bao is safe. Then something funny happens. When Wan touches her hand, his true nature shows. Turns out, he's just a pervert who's really into Taeyin's looks. Grandpa Gio catches that right away and shoots Wan a death glare. Around them, there are people suffering from smallpox gathered near Yang, who's standing like some kind of deity holding the holy water. Everyone's desperate for it. Yang explains that the Golden Crow Holy Cult blesses all living beings through this holy water, promising that drinking it will make sickness and pain disappear. Yuping adds a crucial detail. The holy water only works when it's paired with the sacred chant of the cult. So, Yang starts chanting, the crowd repeats after him, and then everyone drinks the water. Most of them get healed, but some don't. Nothing happens for those people. Yang says it's because those who don't truly believe in the cult won't be blessed. Now, here's where it gets suspicious. Grandpa Jio warns Taeyin that there's something off about this holy water and tells her not to drink it. Taeyin thinks even divine medicine wouldn't work this fast, so this holy water has to be connected to the Nook of Southern Bao ability somehow. The line between reality and illusion is super blurry here, and Taeyin knows she has to get out of this place as soon as possible. Now let's get back to our boy Shu. He's been training nonstop along the way, and honestly, his body's gotten a lot stronger. Big shout out to that annoying spirit who's been pushing him hard, mentoring him in its own weird way. After finishing today's training, before he even realized it, he made it to the royal mausoleum where his father is. But first, Shu needed to find a spot to rest and freshen up. He wanted to meet his dad looking good and feeling ready. So, he took a shower in a nearby river and even managed to catch some fish for dinner. While he was grilling those fish, someone started creeping closer. This old man looked starving, like he hadn't eaten in days, and without hesitation, he lunged at the grilled fish and started devouring it. The guy was injured all over and still polite enough to apologize for acting that way. Turns out, the old man heard his pursuers closing in, so he jumped into the river to hide. He was being chased by officials from the royal mausoleum. Among them was Yang Feng, who immediately recognized Shu as Fei's son. One official rudely asked Shu if he'd seen an old man running by. Shu didn't say a word. When the official tried to lunge at him, Shu quickly used his roots to crack the guy's hand. Other officials were about to jump in, but Yang Feng stepped up, reminding them their real mission was to find the traitor first, not to mess with Shu. So they backed off and went on their way. After they left, Shu told the old man it was safe now, but there was no answer. All right, everyone, this is where the story has to pause for now. All 5 scales are gathering at the royal mausoleum, and we still don't know who's really going to bring disaster or if Shu is truly the shadow hanging over everyone. If there were more chapters, you can bet I'd keep recapping it for you. Thanks a lot for watching.